Welcome everyone to Wes Explains Best. Today we're going to be doing a Kuta software worksheet on exponents and multiplication. So let's go ahead and get started. I generally assign the odd problems when I give these worksheets. And a lot of your teachers will probably give you these worksheets in supplement of the stuff that you're doing in class. So we're going to go ahead and start with the evens. Now it's asking to simplify. And here we're talking about exponents and multiplication, and we need to understand the components of an exponent. So with exponents, we have something that's called, let's change it to b. So the b would be our base, and then the x is our exponent. As long as the bases are the same, you can multiply like bases together. So looking at number 2, we see that we have a base of 4 and a base of 4. So we can multiply these two together and simplify. Now, a common mistake I see is when you have this situation, they do the wrong thing with the exponents, and I'll talk about that in just a second, okay? But first, let me give a quick recap on how we multiply exponents. So if we have 4, that's just a 4 by itself, and then we have 4 squared. What the 4 squared means is 4 times 4. The index indicates, not the index, the exponent indicates how many times we are multiplying the 4 by itself. So in this case, twice, and that's why you see 2 times there for that 2. Because the 4 is by itself in the first one, it's just 4, so it's 4 times 4 times 4. How many times are we multiplying 4 by itself? That's 4 to the third power. Because we are multiplying 4 times itself 3 times. And that's how it works. Now, a common mistake I would see is someone would write 4 to the second power, because the rule with multiplying like bases is you add the exponents. So if we have multiplication, you add the exponents. Add exponents. And that's with multiplication of like bases only. So a lot of people assume that's a 0 there, and then they do 2 plus 0 equals 2. That is incorrect. If you have a 4, there is an implied 1 there. So really it's 1 plus 2, which should give you 4 to the third power. And from there you could simplify further by doing 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64. Okay? So let's move on here to the second problem. Here we have 2 times 2 squared times 2 squared. If we wanted to, let me just show you real quick how we do this again. We could write it all out. So for the second one, it's 2 times itself twice. For the third one, it's 2 times itself twice. How many times are we multiplying 2 by itself? 2 to the fifth power. Now, if we wanted to use the exponent sum, we would just say, okay, 1 plus 2 plus 2, that equals 2 to the fifth. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, I think I missed a 2, times 2 equals 32. Okay, that only works because all these bases are the same. Remember, even when it looks like a number does not have an exponent, there's an implied to the first power, which means it's only times itself one time. Let's look at this next problem. This is a great one that I want to talk about briefly. So here we have r and r squared. Those are like bases. And then we have 6 and 5. Now you might think, okay, we can't, based on the rules of powers, we can't multiply the 6 and the 5. You actually can. And the reason why is because the 6 and the 5 are simplified. They've already been expanded out into their most thorough form. So what do I mean by that? Well, if we had 2 to the fourth, let me write this out. If we had 2 to the fourth, let's make it 2 squared times 5 squared. Okay, you'll see that we do not have like bases. So many people think, oh, we can't multiply these together. But you can, because we can simplify numbers that are raised to powers to their most simple form. So 2 squared is actually 4, and 5 squared is actually 25. Once you get it here, then of course you can multiply these together and you get 100. Okay, but you can't do something like 2 times 5 is 10, okay, and then 2 plus 2 is 4. You can't do something like that. Obviously, it's not 10 to the fourth power. That's not how it works. So don't do that. But you can expand it out and then multiply it for unlike bases. In this case, 6 to the first power and 5 to the first power, they're already simplified to 6 and 5. So we can go ahead and multiply those. So we have the r's also that we can multiply. Again, that's r to the first, r squared. So then our final answer is going to be, let's use purple, 30 r to the third. And that's our final answer. Let's see. Let's go over a tougher one if we can find one. Okay, real quick, this one. 6 to the first, 6 to the first. You could actually either just multiply 6 times 6, or you could add the exponents here. And you get 6 squared. And then we add the exponents here. We get 1 plus 3, x to the fourth, 36 x to the fourth. You'll see that because they're like bases and we added exponents, we get the same thing if we just would have multiplied the simplified form 6 times 6 anyway. So kind of two different ways to do that one. Let's scroll down to maybe, okay, we'll do some in this area. So number 18, we have uv times 4 uv to the fifth. This is when you need to stay organized. We have our u's, we got v's, and then we have that 4 there. So let's kind of leave the 4 alone for now. We'll put them out front. Well, not for now. It's done. There's no other numbers to multiply them by. But the u's, what can we do with the u's? Well, we have u to the first power, u to the first power. We're going to add those exponents. So we get u squared. Now we have v to the first and v to the fifth. We're going to add those exponents. We get v. Make sure they look different. That's a pet peeve of math teachers. I like putting the tail on the v. V to the sixth power, and there's our final answer. Okay. Similar process with number 20. Let's take a look at 22 and 26. I think these are our last couple, yes. So this is a little bit different. This is kind of deceiving. It really shouldn't be put on this worksheet. But since we have a power raised to a power, so we have an exponent raised to another exponent, or raised to a power. This is the only time that you multiply the exponents. Multiply exponents. So if we have a power raised to a power, what does this mean? That means we have p to the fourth times itself 4 times. So we could add the 4's together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 equals p to the 16th. Or we could just multiply. So we do p to the fourth times 4 with the exponent. We get p to the 16th. So you get the same thing. If you have an exponent outside the parentheses like this, you need to make sure you raise both of those terms inside to the fourth power. So this should be rewritten as 2 to the fourth and then b squared to the fourth. So 2 to the fourth we can simplify, that just becomes 16. B squared to the fourth, we are going to multiply exponents. So it becomes b to the eighth, and that's our final answer. Hope you guys found this tutorial helpful. I'm sure you'll see this worksheet come up at some point. I'll see you next time. Until then, be good, be kind, be true, be nice, and be honest.